welcome to the Dynamic Women podcast. Each week, you'll be inspired by our global community of women. They'll share with you tools and stories to help you be dynamic in every area of life. Here's your host, award-winning coach, and the CEO and founder of Dynamic Women, Diane Rolston.
Hello, most wonderful dynamic women, and welcome to the Dynamic Women podcast. I am here today to talk to you in this episode about mistakes that you are making that are costing you time, money, and your sanity. Girlfriend, stop doing these things, or help your friends to stop doing these things. So I'm going to go through 3 different ways that we are doing this to ourselves that's costing us time, money, and our sanity. And then I'm going to give you the reasons why it's not good for you and why we really need to, at this point, make some changes. So the first one is that we don't book time off. Yeah, we don't do it first. That's the main issue. So we don't grab an actual real chunk of time for our vacation. And so when we don't do that, when we eventually want to take a vacation, we've got all this stuff. And then it's like, oh, I was going to take 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 10 days, and I only have 7 because there's too many things to move around. And when you don't take off a real time for a vacation, even if it's just a couple days, a weekend away, this sort of thing, you fill your time with work type activities. Are you guilty of this too? Yeah, I'm totally guilty of this. And so work can be my default because I love it so much. However, we need to book off time for a real vacation. And we need to book off time to do things that bring us joy, that replenish us, that are really just for you. We don't want you to miss out on these activities. So what is it that brings you joy, that replenishes you? Is it scrapbooking, playing the piano, hiking, singing, cooking, knitting, traveling? I don't know what it is for you that brings you joy. Meditating. You need to do these things to have joy in your life, to be replenished, and things that are for you, because the more you do on yourself, the more you will feel that you are worthy, that you are enough, because you're telling yourself that you're important to make this schedule include you. Otherwise, if we don't do that, we're going to fill it. And when you fill it with other stuff, you feel overwhelmed, you feel stressed, and you feel run down. Yeah? And then when you feel run down, what happens? You get grumpy. You become a grumpy pants because there is no time for you to be replenished. I know I've had high cortisol. I've had my hormones all off. I get grumpy, and then I end up taking it out on my family or my loved ones, or just not showing up as well as I want to in my work with my different activities that I have. So as much as you can, as you plan the next quarter, as you plan even the next year, start thinking, how many weeks vacation do I want and where do I want to go? How many days off, afternoons off, do I want, and what do I want that to look like? And on a daily basis, where is my little piece of time for joy replenishment that's just for me? That's going to help you to keep down that overwhelm, that stress, that feelings of run down. And if we don't do this, it will cost you time, it will cost you money, and it will cost you your sanity. Agree? Yeah. Well, then another mistake that people make that does cost them time, money, and sanity is they don't say no. Don't say no. And the thing is, maybe you didn't say yes, but if you're not saying no, people will take advantage of you. Why? Because they're like, oh, so-and-so always says yes. Oh, so-and-so will do it. And the worst place that this happens, I find, because it's like guilt trip central, or I feel like I'd be a bad person, would be places like a charity, church, and with my kids, anything with my kids. So in those places, it's really hard to say no. But if we don't say no, then there's going to be no time for the things that matter most to you. And people just start expecting you to say yes. You're always going to be saying yes. And when you always say yes to others, their needs get met over yours. So many clients of mine, they come to me and they're like, Diane, I'm stressed. Diane, I'm overwhelmed. Diane, my to-do list is so long. Well, how many things on your list did you say yes to somebody else? And by somebody else, I don't mean a paying client. I don't mean your regular responsibilities as a parent. I'm talking about you doing something for someone else that is just way above and beyond or excessive, where you should have just said no. And no is an answer. It is okay to say no. And someone said to me the other day, and I probably won't get the words right, but she said, when someone asks you to do something and you're torn, you can say, you know, my heart really wants to say yes, but my head knows it needs to say no. Something like that. I'm gonna look into that. But I love that because I thought that's perfect. And if you don't say no ever, people will always come to you because they know you're gonna do it, right? They know you're gonna be like almost a pushover. This sad thing is it comes from the goodness of our hearts, but it's not good for us. The third mistake that people make that is costing them time, money, and their sanity is that they don't create boundaries. Now, some examples of creating boundaries might be in your family, your child, grown adult child, expects you that anytime they are going away or anytime they need it, that you'll just take care of their dog. Anytime, no problem. In work situation, it might be something like you have no boundaries on when you will respond to clients, when you will do sessions with them or have appointments or meetings, or even the length of time for a meeting. You just kind of let it go. And so what happens is you end up working when you don't want to work, like evenings and weekends, and when you're supposed to be off. And when you don't create your own boundaries, someone else will create them for you. I wonder how many times in your life, where in your life, do you have things set because someone else did it for you, made the decision for you? And, you know, it may sound harsh the way I'm saying this right now. And please know that I am not standing in my glass house throwing rocks here. I totally know I'm guilty of a lot of these, but it's only in me speaking about this that we can start to make decisions about what we really want to do in creating boundaries. Do you want to be reached at all hours and on all platforms? Do you want them sending you a private message on Facebook? Do you want to slide into your DMs on Instagram? Do you want them to call you or text you in the evening on the weekends when you're on vacation? Yes, no? Well, in this case, you're always going to feel on, and that is definitely the recipe for stress. That is the recipe for feeling burnt out because you never get time to take a break. And so when you don't create boundaries, and then you want to have boundaries, you need to redesign relationships. I talk with my clients a lot about this. You really need to redesign the relationships that you have with your clients. Maybe redesign relationships with family members. And I'll give you fair warning right now. When you go to take back your time, when you go to take back your space, when you start to create these boundaries, these people are not going to be happy about it at first. But it's okay because this is for your sanity. Right? This is for your happiness and your joy. Now, if I'm just going to tell my kids 4 and 7, mommy's not cooking for you anymore. Be realistic here with things, but you can create boundaries, and the people may push back a little bit because you've maybe been the yes person, or you've maybe been always available, or you've just kind of gone along with things because you're a kind person. And so what this does now is it inconveniences them. They don't get to be lazy. They don't get to have you do it for them. So it's pushing them out of their comfort zone, and that's okay. That is totally okay, because everyone needs to have boundaries in order to keep themselves safe, protected, and so that you don't have this mistake that loses you time, money, and your sanity. So I encourage you, take one little thing, take one of the mistakes, take one of the things I'm talking about, put it into practice. So book your time off for the next year, your vacation time, or start saying no. Look at your schedule. Say, one thing, 2 things that you really need to remove. And when you have someone that's pushing your boundaries, think, how can I take this back? What one change do I need to make? What one request, one guideline in the way I work with them or live with them or have a relationship with them? How do I redesign that? And a lot of the things that I'm talking about today are actually what I go through in my Dynamic You program. And so I'd encourage you to check out my website where I do talk about Dynamic You. It is a program where we work closely together with a bunch of other cool dynamic women. And week by week, we go through the 9 pillars of being a dynamic woman. Why? So that you can just step into more brilliantly who you are. I'm not going to change you. I'm not going to make you do crazy hard things. This is meant to just take you, up level you. Some of my clients have said, man, Diane, this is how I got my confidence. Other women have said, this is helping me get ahead faster in my business now. I'm not procrastinating anymore. I'm dealing with that difficult person at work. Check it out. At DianeRolston.com, you are going to find information about Dynamic You under the services. So I encourage you, check it out. Join me and the other ladies in the program. And also, if you haven't yet, and you're wondering, where does Dynamic Women come from? Check out www.dynamicwomen.ca or dynamicwomenclub.com. See about joining us. Get some more expert training. Join me in a live in person or a live online session, and really just be a part of this international community of women who is amazing. I love that you're listening to the podcast, but let's take it to the next step. If you're serious about getting what you want in life and really stepping into who you fully know that you can be. So thanks for joining me this week, and I encourage you to do one of these things so you stop making the mistake. And I will chat with you all next time. Until then, stay dynamic.
Thank you, Dynamic Women, for joining us today. Please hop on over to iTunes to subscribe and leave us a review. Who do you know who needs to hear our message? We'd love it if you'd share our channel with your friends and family. If you're ready to be more dynamic, have more balance and more success, head over to www.dynamicwomenclub.com/free gift for your Key to Success book. Stay dynamic.